the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so I don't even know the names of everybody, but do the roll call. And looks like Martha's. You here, Martha?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Okay, and then to Mark?
Mark Manley, present.
Yes. And Mike Laverty, present. And I guess that's.
Vicky, say Vicky, and then she's not.
So absent would be Vicky Lannon and
Oh.
Brian Lindsay.
Okay. So approval of today's agenda. We have a motion on that.
So move to approve the agenda as written.
Okay, second.
Martha, you got a second.
Second.
Okay, but today's agenda is approve,
Well, you
motion and second.
now call for the vote. So all those in favor?
All those in favor? Aye.
I, Mark Manley.
Aye.
Okay. Approval of today's agenda, approval of consent agenda.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
I second.
Okay, we have a vote, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I, Mark Manley.
Aye.
So consent agenda approved. Requests and responses from audience. Lindsay, this is your time to shine.
I know. I just want to reiterate to the two people on Zoom that I did send you guys an email with just now with a couple of documents for this meeting, but otherwise I don't have any.
Okay, old business, formation of short-term and long-term goals. Was that something that you guys were gonna kind of provide some kind of ideas on, I guess?
Yeah, I think honestly, we might have a little bit more motion on that with everybody here.
Yeah.
So if we want to continue to push that to old business, I don't know how that works.
I would say, as far as old business goes, short-term goals, obviously the thing we have before us today, the big hurdle is the good neighbor policy, which we've got to come up with a different name for. Captain Romo, Mary Stuber, I believe is the lady that mentioned. The state already uses a good neighbor policy language for municipalities working within state forests, I think was what she said.
Forest Service.
Forest Service, sorry. So I think the intent of what we want to do is still the same. We're just going to need to give it a new name. The only long-term goal I would add, and this is truly a long-term goal, I've been talking with Chief Vance quite a bit about our next grant writing opportunity, specifically as it relates to equipment for easement thinning. This is a feller buncher. And please correct me if I'm wrong, but we anticipate this is going to cost somewhere between $800,000 and $1 million for a new feller buncher. This is something that we know that the Cimarron Watershed Alliance has the grant that they're going to be working on that is targeted towards our emergency evacuation routes. My understanding is that's only about 30 miles of our roughly 120-mile roads. So the long-term planning is about how do we address the other 90 miles.
Right.
Of
Would
roads.
this be for the village itself?
It would be. So the conversation that we've had.
Complement the chipping and whatnot.
Exactly. We feel like with the staff we have now and the open recs that we have out now, that it's not something that we would do 24/7 during the season, but when we rotate a wildland team back, because again, correct me if I'm wrong, we don't send all the teams out at the same time. So generally, if there was a team left behind, the activities that they could engage in would be other activities here in town, whether that's work at burning, work at the pit, chipping. But the next thing that's going to need to get out of that is the easement thing. Because those trees in the easement, the village is really the only ones that can cut down, whether we do it ourselves or whether we contract it is the question. And given the size and scope of the project, if we had the equipment here today, maybe not today, it's very blizzard-like out,
Yeah.
but if we had had that equipment here through the winter, that would have been an excellent activity for us to take some portion of that 90 miles and begin active easement thinning on it. So we're gonna be looking to identify a funding source, a grant agency, whatever that is, for that big ticket item.
This might not be the time, but, maybe it is. I know Chief Vance and I have talked a few times about, you know, the community at large and what we could do to encourage them and whatnot. But you talk about money, that's maybe an opportunity, you know, to get the grant, $1 million grant, the big ticket items. But maybe within the defensible space ordinance and the slash program and maybe other programs that evolve, maybe there's this lower level that people get for free or for their fees that they pay through the slash program. But whether it's chipping or whether it's the big machine or whatever, maybe there's other levels that they could sign up for that they could pay additionally
Sure.
for, and that might be an additional funding source to complement what you're just talking about. And if you have a big crew of guys working, again, they can be flexible if there's a forest fire or whatever, but like I say, times like these, oh, go up to Laverty's house or go over to somebody else's house and they're already signed up, they've agreed to pay an additional fee, but like you were doing
Right.
for the stumps and whatnot. And that might be another way to push this thing forward. And again, maybe generate a little revenue to keep the program afloat.
For sure. The other thing it will generate is some interest. I think when
Yeah.
people see us out doing more work, it's gonna raise some questions. Oh, the village is doing easement thinning. What do I need to be doing on my property?
And
But
that
again-
was what Chief Vance and I had had a number of conversations about is how can we incentivize people? And I think big part of it is just informative. You know, like I said last time, the Burma shave signs or whatever, and then somebody looks and they see their neighbor doing some work and they walk over there, they're here from Dallas on a weekend. Hey, what's going on? Oh, we'd like to be part of that program. How do we do that?
Yeah.
I think could be a piece of the puzzle, how we move this forward and build the program.
Right. So the big question is, who do we find that wants to give us $800,000?
Yeah.
You know, to go procure this piece of equipment. So is that one of the agencies we've written grants through now? And it's something I think, you know, if the committee has any input, if anyone else has any input on where a funding source could come from, any of our ex officios for sure, that's gonna be our long-term goal. And I don't know that it will necessarily need input from a technical specification. I mean, we already know what the specs would need to be to properly thin the easement. We have some of the personnel already with the relevant experience and certification to do it, but we don't have a feller buncher, which would make that process much more efficient per mile.
Well, that's a big curiosity of mine, and I've been negligent working on my own projects here lately, but I haven't talked to Rick Smith lately, but I know in previous conversations with Rick and Mary, there was 3 or 4 different grants floating out there that
Right.
theoretically, there's the one that would do the line up along Brazos Drive that I guess was still there and was implied that we were supposed to get it. Now, I don't know if that money got clawed back for other agenda items on the national level, but the last I heard, it was still floating out there, and that was a 10 million grant. And then I think there's that other grant that's been floated for individual property owners, maybe within Angel Fire and whatnot. And so what's the status of those various grants, and are there other ones that we can maybe look into, like, as you were suggesting?
The other thing I think to talk to Rick Smith about is, have they identified a contractor or a process for the emergency evac routes? They may or may not have, and in that conversation if they've identified a contractor that's gonna do the first 30, well, what would it cost us to do the other 90? Or if they haven't identified a contractor, how do they intend to get it done? So just as a long-term goal to put that out there, obviously that amount of money, it's gonna take a concerted effort of grant writing and everything else to get to, but it seems like a reasonable thing for the committee to target as we let the DSO, work through its paces over the next several years. Well, the DSO does nothing to the easements. That's all on us to figure out.
Captain Robo, would you mind giving an update on what you know about the two $10 million grants, the one, phase one and phase two, and where they're at both?
I think they're doing, phase one and, phase two, they said they're just gonna start now in 2026. Those are good questions, though. Maybe Brian knows, who is the contractor who's gonna do the easement routes?
I have no idea. I am a member of the CWA, but I have not been involved in any planning or led on to what their executive director has in mind. I have observed and been affected by some of their operations in Black Lake and on the ranch I manage, not as a participant, but as a neighboring landowner. I find that they do not have plans in place. Is my
I think our best bet is, next time they have a CWA meeting, we attend, and I think that's what, myself and Lindsay and Chief had talked about, cause, every time, nothing against Rick, you call him, he's busy, we're all busy. So I think the best thing is to go to the source.
Well, I know we're all busy, but we would like to see some sort
Yeah.
of proactive planning
Yep.
and be involved in that planning. I think that's
It's
something.
my understanding, phase one is essentially for the border of Angel Fire, phase two is for us anyways, for evacuation routes, not so much individual lots as I understand.
Phase one has funding for individual lots within Angel Fire,
Okay.
but along that border, so not necessarily like somebody in the middle can kind of apply for that. It's really,
When you say phase one, phase two, that's separate from what's happening in Bobcat Pass and what's happening out at Black Lake, right? That you're talking.
They're.
I think they're all included in the new
Okay.
grant.
So phase one was one, and Mark can probably speak as well as anybody can, because he assisted in writing some of the grants, but phase two, it was required that we joined in together and did it all together because we score much higher if we do it as a community than if you do as a individual agency. So phase one was the first 10 million, phase two was the second 10 million, and phase two is the one that has not started yet, that was intended on mostly evacuation routes for Angel Fire.
For us, yeah,
So-
there's a lot of other
So,
money going elsewhere.
With him, cause I had talked to Rick extensively last year about the Brazos Drive area and organizing my neighbors and whatnot, but that's separate from the evacuation route.
Yes, that was phase
Everything.
one. So all the Brazos perimeter and any lots that are along the perimeter could be included in that. And phase two was evacuation routes plus other stuff with Taos County and Black Lake and so forth.
Well, I think that would be a good time if that is gonna be starting possibly by the fall I would like to find out from the CWA, what is the timeline for doing that phase one on the Aspens, along the Carson National Forest fence line? Who is the contractor that they intend to use? What are their practices for using our roads? Just I think a major plan. And I think we should start being in on those conversations so we're not surprised by anything.
Sure. Well, I know I've observed like, abandoned home guys that, Cerna Brothers, haul ass and up and down the roads constantly all summer long. And what we're talking is exponentially larger effort than that. So yeah, you could.
Well, are they gonna be like, are they gonna be using the logging trucks? Will they be coming out like behind the market, like coming down Alcalde or that way? And then that's something I think we need to, for the more comprehensive is to get maybe with the roads departments and people and say, okay, we're gonna have road maintenance that will have to occur. And I think that would be our in-kind, the village's in-kind kind of coming back and saying, okay, are we gonna need to dedicate some material after they're done with this to go back and tune these roads up? Are we gonna have to spend more time?
Or during, the washboard.
During, do we need to have signs? Because we need to start planning. This isn't just a ranch road that's complicated enough. This is a village network of roads, and we need to have planning to inform the public of possible logging operations going on, log trucks coming down, heavy equipment, how they intend to get that equipment there, who's responsible for maintaining the roads, how we have access through private property, and making sure that all these things are in place. And it's part of their plan that I would hope they have on paper as of now.
Hey, guys, I'm gonna take the other side to this for now. this has been a frustration I've had with this committee for years now. We're completely off the agenda and we're talking about things that are not within our purview. Rick Smith doesn't care what this committee thinks he should do with the grant. I'm sorry, I'll finish up here in a second.
Direction, then let's get back
You
onto
know,
our,
so
because we're not on Rick Smith's agenda. So what would you like to talk about, sir?
again, we ought to stick to the agenda. That's the purpose of it. And I'm not suggesting that, you know, any director can put whatever they'd like on the agenda in advance and then talk about it. So I think we kind of got off here. I think Counselor Crane had mentioned the equipment in terms of old business under long-term goals. So fine. But you know, we're way off base now. I think we need to get back on base. I think we need to move on to new business and appoint a vice chairman. And I'm not sure at this point who the chairman is. But I'd like to kind of stay on topic. I want to participate in these meetings. But I don't have a ton of time to talk about, you know, just kind of random things that we think we ought to be doing that aren't agendized.
I agree with that, and I don't even know who the secretary is. I wasn't at the last meeting. I don't know anything. So I would like to stay on the agenda. I feel like, I don't know, something's not working.
Who's the chairman?
As far as I know, I am. I got appointed, I think, at the last meeting.
He was appointed at the first meeting.
Okay,
Martha,
fantastic. Then I would move to appoint Brian Lindsay as vice chairman.
Second that, I'll second that, or can I?
You can.
Okay, I'll
Yes.
second that.
Okay, so
All in
Mark,
favor?
agreed?
What was that, Martha?
I think she agreed.
Oh, okay. So
All those in
all
favor?
those in favor, vote, aye.
There we go. I, Mark Manley.
Aye, Martha.
Aye, Mike.
Congrats, Brian.
Okay. So that's done. Okay,
All right. And we got a purpose statement.
yes, and
I prepared, like, obviously, everything's kind of open to what you guys are wanting, but I did prepare a couple of like examples, so if you wanted to go off of those, vote on one of these purpose statements. If somebody had something in mind, they're totally welcome to bring it to the table as well. So it's really up to you, but I just wanted to provide a few things for you.
well, I know I haven't, did you send this?
I just prepared it this morning. We talked about it last meeting, but
Yeah, I remember some mention of it, but
Yeah.
I know I haven't studied it at all.
Lindsay, are those 4 competing purpose statements or do they work in tandem?
they're competing, but they can work in tandem if that's what
Okay.
the committee is wanting. But I feel like they all kind of blanket the same thing.
Okay.
I'm gonna take a second and read through them quickly and,
Well, those online have them.
Yes, I sent them to them.
oh, they have that already.
Martha, do you have a copy of them?
Mark, have you studied that?
Yes, I've read them. I didn't realize what the intent was, so I think I can pretty quickly get to just one that we could discuss, but they all seem to be in the ballpark.
Yeah, they're pretty similar. Anybody want to make a motion to accept one or the other, or one of the 4?
I think, sorry, probably, I mean, the idea is, you know, community education, making sure we've got sort of all the various stakeholders at the table, residents, local leadership, community partners, all of those that have been mentioned. And then the idea of education related to wildfire preparedness, advancing a coordinated effort to mitigate the high risk areas, and then the idea that we're all in this together, right? The idea of a shared responsibility through local business owners, again, the local leadership, and of course, all of the residents, the community, what comprises the community. And then probably we ought to mention in there, beyond just education, the defensible space, home hardening initiative. Then after that would be strategic risk reduction planning. That this committee, the intent of the committee would be that education, working to, again, protect lives, homes, businesses, and the forest, while strengthening the long-term safety and resilience of the community overall. So kind of just rambling there, stream of consciousness, but I think that, Lindsay, did I leave anything out of the four there? I'm just trying to kind of condense them down into one or maybe two sentences.
Yeah, that sounds good. And I mean, I can compile all of that together and kind of get one good purpose, statement for next, for the agenda next time if we can't vote on it today.
It
Does
seems like
anybody?
Mark's headed was the number 3, maybe is the one that maybe catches most of those points that you made, Mark, and then,
Mhm.
but I just wrote down adding the DSO and the home hardening and the risk planning aspect. So maybe start with number 3 and add some of the other pieces to it.
That, yeah, I do think that makes, because the folks in this room, the local leadership, obviously, many of the business owners are aware. The residents, there's a big difference, right, between folks that live here all year round versus the folks that just visit. And, it's going to take everybody. So educating folks that do have a structure on their property, I think that should be part of this committee's charge. A lot of folks just aren't aware of what's available to them, assessment of their own property, free of charge, and then explaining to them how they can make their own property a little bit more defensible. Those are some of the things I think we ought to tackle as a committee.
Yeah, maybe distinguish between the local residents and the non-local residents who still have an investment here, maybe property and whatnot. And I know that's when I think about this, I think about those out-of-towners who aren't aware. They're not here living it all the time. They come up for a holiday and then they go. How do we educate them and bring them up to speed more like the local residents are who, listen to the news all the time about Ruidoso and other places.
Yeah.
Lindsay, I'm going to shoot you an email quickly here, just taking a whack at it.
Sounds good.
You're
Yeah.
cutting and pasting and editing already.
I'm okay with that.
I got to keep moving.
Sure.
So are we good with the purpose statement?
Okay, Brian, you got any thoughts on that?
I like that, say number 3 with. I
Have a
like
starting
that.
point and that it's,
Yes, I like that.
I think we're kind of around what Mark was maybe editing already, and then, maybe the next time it'll be, close enough to where we can vote on it.
Okay, sounds good.
Sense?
Yes. Next agenda.
Okay,
And the name, the good neighbor names, is that also,
That's
Oh,
on there, but.
that's the
there's
next-
another one Before,
okay,
or wait, no, it is right after this.
okay.
yeah,
The
so,
master
Do it on purpose.
yeah, so we're gonna table the purpose statement until next meeting and go through another rendition of that, if we get it close enough. So vote to pass on newly named good neighbor policy, and with Mark Manley's notes, do we have something
We
on?
do, we do not have my notes because I have not gotten through this yet. I made some sort of initial comments, but I do have a couple of concerns, but I just haven't had the time to get through it. I'll do that before our next meeting. The one thing, Lindsay, is I only have a PDF. If you do have this in Word and you wouldn't mind sending it to me so that I could, it's just a little easier to work with, but
I can do that, yes.
okay, that'd be great. And I think that with the retitling the document aside, I think it is in pretty good shape. I did have a couple of concerns that just related to liability, and not for me to, I want to bring it to the attention, but it probably is something that needs to go after discussion by this committee. It needs to go to the village's legal counsel. I can't serve in that capacity, but there's a few things, and I don't think it'll be controversial. But I do think legal counsel needs to look at it before we disseminate that out to the community. And I apologize, just haven't had the time. Have had a pretty busy litigation schedule here recently, so I'm just behind in other things where I don't get yelled at by a judge if I miss the deadlines on. So that's all that's going on with it. I wish I had gotten time to get to it. I just haven't.
Can we vote on the name, or is that something we need to look at more?
That's up to y'all. I mean, these are all suggestions. A few of them were sent out previously as well.
We're not talking about changing the policy, just
No,
the.
just the name.
Just naming it while we're making these.
So that we don't duplicate
Yeah.
the good neighbor
Okay.
policy that the state already has.
Yeah.
Number 5 seems to echo the defensible space ordinance, which is starting to, be a title that people are aware of and have heard about, and I don't know if that, the other ones seem to be a little more vague or like the WUI thing, people won't maybe understand what that is.
And just to catch up, Mark and Martha, we had discussed, last meeting that there was already a policy in place by the state that is called the Good Neighbor Policy. So in order to avoid confusion with that policy, we decided that we needed to rename it, just to catch up.
Thank you.
Got it. So you don't want the Ford Amphitheater south of Denver and the Ford Amphitheater in Vail, that kind of problem?
Uh-huh.
People showing up at a different place for a different concert. It's a good one. I think defensible space partnership program looks good. Maybe swap community for partnership, but
Yeah, that could be, I think emphasizing the community, I think is, with the education, the information, I think, seems to make sense to me that, we want this to be a community effort, I think, and gradually build that knowledge and support throughout the community, both.
yeah, something with 4 and 5 somehow to combine. Those seem to be pretty.
Yeah,
They all strike the right tone.
righty. Do we wanna maybe let that sit till next time and include that in the purpose statement proposals where we refine both of those a little bit more and then vote
Well,
on both.
I've got to get Lindsay some comments on the good neighbor policy itself, so that at least we're a little closer on what we're going to call it. But because the policy needs a little bit of more work, we probably don't need to decide what to call it today.
Okay.
I agree.
Yes, yeah, I like
I like stewardship in general, but I think community and defense is a good.
Could we see the good neighbor policy before the next meeting so that we can read through it again?
Yeah, so I think Lindsay, if you're going to get me the Word document, I can get just to my comments on it. And again, I'm not trying to rewrite it. There's a couple of issues, just sort of a risk, solid risk management principles. If we're going to ask folks to sign it, just want to make sure we don't have any sort of unintended consequences for that. And again, do want to get that to legal counsel. So I will commit to getting my comments back to you. And then maybe once I do that, if you want to sort of circulate it to the committee so that we can hopefully be in good shape by our next meeting. So if you send that to me today, I'll get it back to you this week.
Okay, sounds good. I can do that.
all righty.
And Martha, just so you know, it's unchanged from the last time that you saw it.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
I just had that PDF up somewhere. I'm losing
I'm just
my.
talking about seeing it before the next meeting with the changes. That would be awesome.
Right, at least a day before when we could get a look at it. Okay, item number 4, discussion on next meeting time as well as long-term meeting schedule. Still seems to me like maybe we ought to have a few frequent meetings now as we're on a more regular basis, as we're getting organized and working through some of these nuts and bolts things. I think in the long run, it seemed to me that maybe just for sake of argument, I guess, I'd propose maybe quarterly, that we'd have a formal meeting to deal with things with maybe some work sessions in between. I know for me personally, and today is a good example, it screws up my day to come here at 10 o'clock in the morning. And either first thing or the end of the day, I think would certainly work better for me. But, I'm one of many, so everybody else gets to vote too. Well, I also like that.
I'm good with first thing in the morning or last thing at the end of the day as well. Certainly. So, but I'll try to work around everyone else's schedule. The only thing which I can never plan for is just kind of when I'm in court, and that it just falls when it falls.
I know we all have things that pop up as well, but I know, if I have a meeting midday, whether it's a doctor's appointment or whatever, there's probably 50-50 that I'm gonna forget about it because I'm in the middle of something else. And I try to schedule my appointments if it's important first thing in the morning, and if not, I do it at the end of the day, and that way I can get some other stuff done during the day. But again, we'll see what everybody else thinks about that one.
Yeah, I generally like that. But it's hard to say which way the day goes.
Yeah, that's true.
That's nice. And then I think we should have work sessions because I think that's the appropriate forum to have brainstorming and discussion and organic conversations.
Yeah, kind of,
Where during this meeting, we should be more formal and stick to the agenda.
yeah, like Mark alluded to.
But we should have these work sessions in between because I think there is a lot of, and that's what I'd like to propose for the next agenda, because Mark's correct. Rick Smith does not care about our agenda. He has his own agenda. He is implementing it in his own way. Now he needs his collaboration and would be accepted and appreciated. But they're gonna come in and do it how they wanna do it. It's their money. They're gonna do it how they wanna do it. Now, our job, I think, is to find out where we can fill in the gaps and not overlap with what they're doing. And do try and get our public education out there too, so we can educate our community. That is gonna take a lot of communication from their part, and we hope to maybe have a liaison that can work with the CWA to keep us informed. But as far as their planning and their projects, it's gonna, I think we need to kind of look at other projects that we can focus on.
Yeah, wholeheartedly agree with that. We should definitely try to, you know, obviously communicate with them so that we can then communicate with the residents and all the stakeholders we mentioned before. So totally agree.
Okay. So any more discussion on meeting?
But as far as
Time
next meeting, how
suggestions?
much time do you need, Mark, for your edits?
I'm going to turn that around this week. That's not a problem. So, you know, I have, I'm just kind of looking at the calendar. You know, if we wanted to put a work session in March, you know, I'd appreciate it if we could try to do it after the mountain closes. Those last couple of weeks are all hands on deck with spring break up here. So it's going to be tough for me.
Hey, does the mountain close?
The 22nd.
Second.
Yeah. So
And I don't know, you know, I'm thinking about myself and others, but I know the other part of the equation is village staff and, for them, is it having a meeting time that works for you guys, like at first thing in the morning, you're having organizational meetings with your people and whatnot, might not be good for you. I don't know about the end of the day, but I think you need to have equal say in this as well, because, you're on the clock, so to speak, and we're not. So it might, something to think about.
We know we're, you guys schedule, I mean, but, you know, and like we said, one of us will be here.
Yeah.
Either myself, Lindsay, or Chief, so I think we're covered there.
Yeah. Well,
Afternoons would be my preference. My mornings are usually pretty stacked and we do organizational meetings in the
I
morning.
figured that's the case, so, you know, tentatively, I'd say 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Most afternoons would probably be
That works for me, yes.
you want to keep it on a Tuesday and try for March 24th at 4 p.m.
sounds as good as any right now to me. I think.
Just
Can always move it.
a couple of notes on that. I know a lot of people tend to head out of town after things have closed down here. I know,
Right there.
the big youth trip's gonna be that week. The only other thought I had timing wise, and I agree with Mr. Manley's comments, this is whatever we call the good neighbor policy is gonna end up in legal. And if we're gonna have that in place as we get into thinning season.
So maybe that's an example where we could have, and even if it's just an online thing or just a texting thing back and forth, that if Mark and Lindsay can come up with something within the next week or so, and then we circulate it around, say, let's try to make a decision informally by, you know, February, whatever. And that way council knows that's the direction we're headed. They could review it. Then on the 24th, maybe we vote on it all and.
Well,
submit that.
to send something to council, you guys will have to vote on it. We can't have it done via email in the background if we're doing, it's gonna have to be done in a meeting, in other words. And the 24th is fine, if that's when the committee decides is the next one. That's gonna get us close to April. Legal has been faster these last several days for us, but I would hate to see this get tied up until.
Yeah, we can move it up, the 10th, March 10th at 4. I don't know if that's a village council meeting or not, but
Well, Mark, I wonder, could we maybe,
Yeah.
you know, leave the 24th in place, but figure out an interim one, once you and Lindsay get the language, maybe we can vote informally over the texting and say, let's have a meeting on February 1st, 15 minutes,
Right.
vote on what we need to vote on, then it can go to council and we don't slow down the process there.
That would be a great
Could I
idea.
just say, I think it would be great if we set a date. I think that would be easier than just trying to figure it out via text. I mean, what about March the 10th? That gives Mark time, that gives Lindsay time, it gives them time to circulate it. And then we know we're going to meet on March 10th, so we have that date set aside. We vote on it, and then maybe we have, I don't know if the 24th, if you're talking about a work session or what you're talking about, but
Yeah.
I like the idea of a set date.
The 10th is great. You will have a council meeting that night, so you'll have a hard end time. But other than that, there's no problems there.
So, Ryan, what do you think?
I agree.
All
Do
right,
you
let's
want
go.
to keep the 24th as well, or just the 10th?
Seemed like it was just the urgency to get over this hump with those items, right?
Yeah.
Should we do the 10th as the meeting to vote on the policy?
Yes.
I mean, that can be a 5-minute meeting. I mean,
Yeah.
it could,
Right.
yeah,
And then the 24th is a work session to throw ideas around
Okay.
Gonna do that.
and talk about CWA collaboration.
Does anyone know when their next meeting is?
CWA?
Yeah.
I want to say it's coming up in March. I want to say the 11th.
He hasn't
Something
sent
like
out
that.
an email to me yet, so I don't know.
Would it make sense for us to invite Rick to, say, the 24th meeting and get him a little bit involved in the new Firewise committee and
If
talk about
that's-
collaboration? And if that gives him 6 weeks or 5 weeks to schedule it, maybe he could.
Yeah.
Be a good time to try to get him involved, at least figure out what his program is and include him as much as we can, and maybe then we could talk about the liaison as well.
So if you guys are good for the 10th, I guess I would just ask the secretary to go ahead and email the clerk to hold that date for you so that somebody else doesn't jump on it. The clerk is actually out this week. So Martha, do you have Rocky's email as well?
I can get it. I think I have
Okay.
it.
Okay, if
And,
you would just,
I'm assuming I am the secretary. I don't really know.
It was voted on last, meeting.
Vicky nominated you without,
That has been.
without you
that's
being
how
here.
that happened.
Oh, well. Okay, so I'll email the clerk. Thank you.
I just wanted to add also, just kind of a point of clarity. Some of my frustration with this committee has been, we wait until the meetings to discuss anything whatsoever. So I want to open my door to you and maybe even have something scheduled in between so we can have frequent conversations about what our agenda items are gonna be, what the topics for discussion are gonna be, so that we can have a much better game plan, so that we don't show up and Martha doesn't know what we're talking about, or people who weren't here last time. So
But specifically about the next meeting.
specifically about the next
Things
meeting,
in general.
what our opening statement's gonna be, catch everybody up. We should have some kind of notes that happened from last meeting. This is where we left off, just to remind everybody. And, you know, that's kind of like old business type, where that should fit. And then any new business or whatever, but, I open my door up to you, Mike, for us to have frequent conversations about what the direction of the committee is, and just more frequent communication in between meetings.
I think that would be
For
good too.
organization.
We've done it informally before, but maybe with a little more of a purpose now to, geared around the Firewise, committee and whatnot.
Yes, sir.
Any more discussion on meeting schedules and whatnot? I think, we'll do, Martha's suggestion, the 10th and the 24th, and for the 10th being a purpose of voting on that, the good neighbor policy name, and as well as the purpose statement.
Okay.
Okay. Item number 5, Firewise rollout, Lindsay to present volunteer activity. You're, this Lindsay or another Lindsay?
Me, yes.
I'm just Brian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can, I guess we could clarify that a little bit better now.
Somebody the other day said we need more Lindsays.
Yeah.
So pretty much what I wanted to bring forward is that, we're starting, the rollout probably about next month for defensible space program, things like that. I started last year in April. We'll kind of see, you know, with, snow and weather, if it's the same as last year or worse than last year, then maybe I'll start in March doing, a heavy rollout of assessments and things like that. But we did not have a very good run last year trying to do volunteer activities and trying to get volunteers going. With everything we were trying to get done with the ordinance and, you know, setting the program up, to be successful. So I put a little bit more time and effort this time into a volunteer activity description, and commitment form. So, that's gonna be part of the rollout as well as just, advertising that we will have, certain things for people to volunteer for us. So this pretty much has, 3 different tiers. So the basic, intermediate, and advanced ambassador, with however people want to do things, with us, and kind of just has an outline of what we would want them to do. Some of them, you know, will just want to do events with me and things like that, but just kind of giving volunteers the choice on, how much time and effort they want to spend on doing something like that. In the hopes that we can get a little bit more participation instead of just saying, I don't know what I need you to do yet, but if you wanna come over, I can help you figure that out, right? So now we've figured it out, we can, tell people how they can help us, and hopefully that'll get people to come help us this summer. And also added in a youth ambassador for high school, so any high schoolers, anything like that, who are needing a, volunteer credit are welcome to come and help either me. I still want to discuss with Captain Grandma on how, you know, maybe they need help over at Station 3 or even Station 1, for youth ambassadors and things like that. But I am really looking forward to the summer season, doing all the events once again, and hopefully having a few more volunteers in our book, than last year, so.
We can talk about going down to the high school and having a little presentation for the kids.
I have not yet, that's something yet to be discussed, I'm sure that would definitely be a really good idea, though.
We had some discussions about this. Last year, we were just kind of saying, hey, we need some volunteers if we were to kind of go out and do that. But people don't really know what they're signing up for. So our direction with that is, let's come up with a few descriptions of how we think we could use volunteers. These are very malleable or whatever. If somebody felt like they could do items 1, 2, 3, but not 4, 5, and 6. But the point was to get kind of pseudo job descriptions, so how we see we need volunteers, and does a volunteer see themselves fitting into one of those roles? So that's kind of what where we started, and Lindsay did a lot of work in coming up with those, job descriptions, if you will, and volunteer descriptions. We do have career day that comes up, every year for the high school that, we hope to have that planned by then.
And maybe this could be associated with that, because there's not only stuff that kids could do locally, but they're saying, oh, I might want to be a firefighter, you know? Jump out of airplanes and land in the middle of nowhere.
So if you guys have a chance to look at these descriptions, volunteer descriptions, if you feel like we've missed the mark, or you feel like you want to comment, or they should be changed, we're open to anything. This is just something for us to be able to start conversations.
Yeah, and just kind of show the direction that we're heading this year. We're gonna keep everything that we were doing last year that was working. Obviously, I think assessments were working. We were advertising them online. I think we could be a little bit more aggressive with that. Maybe partner with the visitor center a little bit more, trying to get, our name out there at their events as much as, you know, I can show up as much as I want, but saying, hey, this person's here to talk about this, beforehand, maybe that will get a few people to come, and speak to me rather than get bombarded by me at events, you know?
Sure.
So just kind of keeping y'all in the know with what we're doing with that, and, that was kind of the whole thing. And yeah, if you guys want to give me, tips or anything on the volunteer, or any revisions, you're totally welcome to send them my way, or, I can email that after, as well, because I just wanted to kind of give it to you guys in the moment. So,
Anything else? Chris? Chief?
Well, sir.
All good.
Well, just Jim. Brian, good. Martha, you got anything, words of wisdom, or Mark? All right, well, I guess we'll, our next meeting will be Tuesday, March 10th at 4:00. And, with that, I guess meeting's adjourned, huh?
That's it. Bring on the snow.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Lindsay, shoot that to me. I'll get it right back to you, okay?
Sounds good.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
For years now, I've been following a guy who calls himself the Durango Weather Guy. He's an independent forecaster.
Yeah,
And I found him to be pretty accurate.
Yeah.
He's saying this is the big one.
I hope so.
3 storms in a row.
Yeah, looking like all three might add up to about 8 inches or so.
He predicted 4 feet for.
Oh, I'd take every snowflake we can
Yeah,
get.
so we get.
Yeah.
Or do you?